The day the aliens arrived was sunny. Lieutenant John Carter stood at the lunar outpost window, watching Earth glow blue and white in the distance. His morning had been normal until the alarms went off. "Unknown vessel approaching," said the computerized voice. "Classification, non-human origin." John rushed to the command center where other officers gathered around screens. The ship on the display didn't look like anything humans had built. It was smooth, silver, and shaped like a teardrop. "What do we do?" asked a young officer. Before anyone could answer, all screens lit up with a message in English. "We come in peace. We are the Zeelar. We wish to talk." 3 days later, John stood in the same room as the first alien to officially meet humanity. The Zeelar named Rizak had light blue skin and 4 arms. John corrected himself, stood a foot taller than any human. "Lieutenant Carter," said Rizak, his voice deep and smooth. "You have been chosen as our liaison. Your leaders speak highly of your adaptability." John nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. "I'm honored. There's so much we hope to learn from you." Rizak's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "And we from you. Your species is young but has great potential." Over the next few weeks, John spent every day with Rizak. The alien shared information about the Galactic Concordat, a union of over 300 space-traveling species that governed most of the Milky Way. "Humans are now invited to join as a protectorate species," Rizak explained during a meeting with Earth's leaders. "We will guide your development and protect you as you grow." Many celebrated this news. Humanity was not alone, and their new friends promised to share technology, knowledge, and protection, but Dr. Lisa Martinez wasn't celebrating. As the lead xenoanthropologist assigned to study the Zeelar, she noticed things that bothered her. "They never talk about conflicts," she said to John one evening as they reviewed the data shared by the aliens. 300 species living together peacefully for thousands of years? That doesn't make sense. John frowned. "Maybe they've evolved past violence." Lisa shook her head. "Or maybe they're hiding something. Look at these star maps they gave us. There are empty regions that Rizak refuses to explain." As weeks turned into months, more Zeelar ships arrived. They helped humans build better spaceships and set up faster communication systems. Earth's technology jumped forward by decades in less than a year. John became close with Rizak, or as close as one could be with an alien. During one private conversation, he asked about the empty spaces on the maps. Rizak's usual calm disappeared for a moment. "Those areas are not relevant to your species right now, but if we're part of this concordat—" "You are a protectorate," Rizak interrupted, all 4 hands raising in what John now recognized as a sign of authority. "Some knowledge is not suitable for young species. It would only cause fear." Later, that day, John found Lisa in her lab. "You might be right," he said quietly. "They're definitely hiding something." Lisa nodded. "I've been analyzing their language patterns. They talk about other species with respect, but when they talk about humans, they use terms that translate closer to useful or promising resource than equal partner." John looked out the window at the Zeelar ship hovering above the new spaceport. "So what are we to them? Students, pets, or something else?" "I don't know," Lisa said, pulling up more translation data on her screen. "But I think we need to learn as much as we can, as fast as we can. Because one thing is clear, they're not telling us everything." In orbit above them, 5 more Zeelar ships appeared, silently taking positions around Earth like watchful guardians or prison guards. No one could be sure which. 5 years passed since the Zeelar first came to Earth. Humans now had 3 colony worlds and were official members of the Galactic Concordat as a protectorate species. Ships traveled between stars, and alien technology changed life on Earth forever. Captain Andrea Williams stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Northern Star. It was the newest and fastest ship humans had built with Zeelar help. Andrea felt proud to command it, even if alien advisors watched her every move. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said her communications officer. "It sounds like a distress signal." Andrea walked over to look at the screen. "From where?" "Sector 17B. It's supposed to be empty space. Andrea frowned. The Zeelar advisor on board, Kelmar, had told them this area was safe but uninteresting. Why would there be a signal? Play it, she ordered. A broken voice came through, speaking a language Andrea didn't know. But the fear in it was clear. Can we trace it? She asked. Already did, replied the officer. It's coming from the third planet in the system ahead. Andrea made her decision quickly. Set course for that planet and get Engineer Brown up here. Kevin Brown arrived minutes later. He was the best engineer in the fleet and understood alien tech better than most. What do you need, Captain? He asked. I want you to look at this signal. Something doesn't feel right. Kevin listened to the message and studied the data. This is old. The signal has been repeating for years, maybe decades. When they reached the planet, what they found shocked everyone. A civilization had been there once, but now only ruins remained. Buildings were destroyed, and there were no signs of life anywhere. Scan for survivors, Andrea ordered, though she doubted they would find any. The crew worked in silence as the scans came back negative. Andrea sent teams to the surface to investigate. They returned with disturbing news. This wasn't a natural disaster, reported the team leader. Something or someone attacked this planet systematically. They targeted population centers first, then smaller settlements. Andrea examined the evidence they brought back. Among the ruins, they found symbols that weren't in any concordant database the humans had access to. What does this mean? She asked, Kelmar showing him the images. The Zeelar's forearm stiffened. Where did you find these? On the planet below. You said this sector was uninhabited. It is now, Kelmar said coldly. This is classified information. You should not be here. That night, Kevin came to Andrea's quarters looking worried. Captain, I need to show you something. He revealed a small device he had found in the ship's communication system. This has been recording and transmitting everything we say and do. It's Zeelar tech, but it wasn't on any of the blueprints they gave us. Andrea felt a chill. They're spying on us? I think they've been doing it from the beginning. The next day, Andrea confronted Kelmar with what they had found on the planet. Who were they? What happened to them? Kelmar hesitated before answering. They were called the Vari. They were destroyed by the Void Heralds. Who are the Void Heralds? Why weren't we told about them? Such matters are beyond your understanding, Kelmar said. The Concordat handles these issues. Protectorate species need not concern themselves. When they returned to Earth, Andrea reported everything to Earth Command. She also secretly met with John Carter, now a commander, and Dr. Lisa Martinez. Something big is happening, Andrea told them. The Zeelar are hiding major threats from us. Lisa nodded grimly. And they're watching us carefully. The question is why? John looked at the star charts they had pieced together. Whatever they're hiding, it's getting closer. We need to prepare, but quietly. Above them, more Zeelar ships entered orbit each day. And deep in space, something was moving toward human territory, something the Zeelar didn't want humans to know about. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked late into the night. For months, she had been secretly studying Zeelar communications. Tonight, she finally broke through their encryption. Oh my God, she whispered as she read the messages. The truth was worse than anyone had guessed. She called Commander Paul Jackson immediately. I need to see you right away. It can't wait until morning. An hour later, Lisa, Paul, John Carter, and Andrea Williams gathered in a secure room beneath Earth Command headquarters. They had swept it for listening devices 3 times. The Galactic Concordat is breaking apart, Lisa explained, showing them the translated messages. There's a war coming, a big one. Paul studied the data. Are you sure about this translation? Completely sure. The Zeelar and 3 other powerful species have formed one faction. Others have created opposing alliances. And the Void Heralds that Andrea discovered? They're not just some random threat. They're a major power that's been hidden from us. John pointed to one section of text. What's this part about humans? Lisa's face darkened. That's the worst part. The Zelar plan to use us as weapons. They've been studying our biology, our psychology. They think we're naturally more aggressive than other species. They want to put humans on the front lines when the fighting starts. Cannon fodder, Andrea said bitterly. We need to tell Earth's leaders immediately, Paul decided. The emergency meeting was called at dawn. Top government and military officials from around the world gathered to hear the evidence. The Zelar ambassador, Rizak, was not invited. As Paul presented the translated messages, the faces in the room grew pale with shock and anger. We've been deceived from the beginning, the Secretary General said. What do you suggest we do? Before anyone could answer, the doors burst open. Rizak entered, flanked by 4 other Zelar. How unfortunate, Rizak said, his voice no longer friendly. We expected it would take your primitive minds much longer to decrypt our communications. You lied to us, Paul said, stepping forward. You planned to sacrifice humans in your war. Rizak's upper arms moved in what humans now recognized as a shrug. Your species is young but adaptable, perfect for our needs. Your deaths would serve a greater purpose. We'll fight you, the admiral of the fleet declared, standing up. No, said Rizak calmly. You won't. In one swift movement, the Zelar pulled out weapons. Energy beams cut through the room. The Secretary General fell first, followed by the Admiral and 3 others. Paul dove for cover, pulling out his own weapon. John tackled Lisa to the floor as shots flew overhead. Security forces rushed in, but the Zelar technology was far superior. In the chaos, Andrea grabbed a fallen guard's gun and took aim at Rizak. Her shot caught him in the shoulder. The alien roared in pain, then fired back, missing her by inches. The firefight lasted only minutes. When it ended, 7 humans were dead, including some of Earth's top leaders. 2 Zelar were wounded. Rizak and the others escaped. Across the planet, reports came in of Zelar ships moving into attack positions. The alien embassy sent a message to all human governments. Surrender your military forces or face extinction. In the damaged meeting room, Paul helped John and Lisa to their feet. Andrea joined them, bleeding from a cut on her face. It started, Paul said grimly. We're at war. John looked out the window at the Zelar ships visible in the sky. We need to evacuate as many people as possible. Get them to the colonies or underground. Will we have time? Lisa asked. Paul checked the emergency communication system. Reports were coming in from space. Maybe not. There are more ships coming. Not just Zelar, different designs, hundreds of them. The Void Heralds? Andrea asked. I don't know. But whatever happens next, humanity was never supposed to survive it. The first attack came at dawn. Massive ships appeared above Earth's largest cities. They were not Zelar vessels, but something different. Angular, black, and much larger. Void Heralds, whispered Admiral Susan Clark as she watched the screens in the emergency command center. She had been promoted after the death of the previous admiral just 3 days ago. The alien ships opened fire. Energy beams cut through buildings like they were made of paper. Millions died in the first hour. Launch all fighters, Susan ordered. Every ship we have, target their weapons first. Earth's defense fleet was small compared to the invaders, but humans fought with desperate courage. Pilots flew directly into enemy fire to get close enough for their weapons to be effective. By nightfall, 3 Void Herald ships had been destroyed, but at a terrible cost. Half of Earth's fleet was gone, and most major cities lay in ruins. Similar attacks hit the human colonies. Europa, the largest colony, was targeted by 5 enemy ships. Its defenses were minimal. It was supposed to be a mining and research outpost, not a military base. Chief Engineer Ryan Taylor watched the approaching ships from Europa's control room. Unlike the others, he didn't panic. We have drills, he said to the colony's leadership. Deep ones, and we have mining explosives. What good will those do against those ships? Someone asked. Ryan's eyes narrowed. You'd be surprised what mining equipment can do when used creatively. While the Void Heralds prepared to destroy Europa from orbit, Ryan and his team worked frantically. They modified mining lasers to target the enemy ships and repositioned drilling equipment to serve as makeshift defense cannons. When the aliens opened fire, they expected an easy victory. Instead, powerful beams shot up from the surface, damaging one of their ships. The aliens paused, confused. Ryan's team used that moment to launch their secret weapon, cargo containers filled with mining explosives, propelled by emergency thrusters. 3 slammed into the damaged alien ship, detonating on impact. The ship broke apart. The other alien vessels pulled back, choosing to bombard from a greater distance rather than risk more direct attacks. Back on Earth, Dr. Eric Wilson made a discovery that would change the course of the war. Working in an underground lab with equipment salvaged from his destroyed research facility, he studied tissue samples from humans who had survived direct exposure to the alien weapons. "This is incredible," he said to his assistant. "The radiation from their weapons affects us differently than it affected the test animals we had from the Zelar." "What do you mean?" "Humans adapt to it. Our cells actually restructure themselves after exposure. We become more resistant." This information spread quickly through what remained of human forces. Admiral Clark ordered all remaining ships to engage in quick hit-and-run attacks, knowing that each crew member who survived would come back stronger. Across the solar system, humanity began to organize. They couldn't match the aliens for power or technology, but they had something else: unpredictability and the will to survive. Small groups of fighters used asteroids for cover, emerging to attack enemy ships before disappearing again. Communication. Networks were established using old radio frequencies the aliens didn't monitor. On Europa, Ryan's team continued to hold out, using the moon's vast underground tunnel system to hide and strike when least expected. After 2 weeks of fighting, the Void Heralds had destroyed much of human civilization, but had failed to exterminate the species entirely. Their losses were small but significant. They had not expected any resistance at all. In her temporary headquarters beneath the ruins of what had once been Denver, Admiral Clark looked at the latest battle reports. Earth was burning. Billions were dead. But humanity was still fighting. "They wanted to wipe us out quickly," she said to her officers. "They failed. Now we need to make them regret starting this fight at all." In orbit, more enemy ships appeared daily. The real war was just beginning. Captain Amy Patterson guided her small stealth ship through the debris field. The Shadowhawk was one of the few human vessels designed with both Zelar technology and human innovation. Its outer hull absorbed radar and light, making it nearly invisible. "Any signs of pursuit?" she asked her navigator. "None, Captain. We're clear for now." Amy relaxed slightly. Her mission was dangerous but vital: to find allies, any allies, who might help humanity survive. For 3 months, her crew had explored the edges of human space, avoiding Void Herald patrols. They had discovered something unexpected. The Heralds were fighting other battles too. They weren't just attacking humans. As the Shadowhawk drifted past a destroyed alien station, sensors picked up a faint signal. "Life signs," reported the science officer. "Non-human." Inside that broken section, Amy made her decision quickly. "Prepare boarding gear. We're going to check it out." The boarding team found survivors, 6 insect-like aliens with 4 legs and large compound eyes. They appeared injured but defensive, raising strange weapons as the humans approached. Amy removed her helmet and raised empty hands. "We're not here to hurt you. We're human." The largest alien lowered its weapon slightly. "Humans, the new prey species." It spoke through a translation device. "We are not prey," Amy replied firmly. "We're fighting back. Who are you?" "We are Krell. The Concordat believes we are extinct. We prefer it that way." Over the next few hours, Amy learned the truth. The Krell had once been part of the Galactic Concordat but had discovered the darker side of its politics. Rather than become pawns like other species, they faked their extinction and went into hiding centuries ago. "The Void Heralds grow stronger every decade," the Krell leader explained. They harvest energy from dying stars to power their weapons. The concordant species fight among themselves instead of uniting against the true threat. Amy brought the Krell back to one of humanity's hidden bases. There, Science Officer Daniel Green worked with Krell biologists to understand more about their common enemy. Their biology is fascinating, Daniel told Admiral Clark during a secure briefing. The Void Heralds are sensitive to certain radiation, frequencies our weapons could be modified to produce. While scientists worked on new weapons, communications specialist Nancy White developed a better way for scattered human forces to coordinate. She created a system using old radio frequencies and constantly changing codes. The aliens rely on quantum communication, she explained. They don't even monitor these old bands. It's like passing notes in class while the teacher isn't looking. This shadow network proved invaluable as human Krell teams began small raids against enemy supply lines. They captured Void Herald technology and discovered something alarming. These star harvesting plans, Daniel said as he studied stolen data. They're trying to extract energy from the galactic core. The Krell scientist examining the data clicked its mandibles nervously. This is madness. Such extraction could destabilize the entire galaxy. Admiral Clark looked grim. So they're not just conquerors. They're willing to risk destroying everything. The Human-Krell alliance grew stronger with each successful mission. They developed weapons targeting Herald vulnerabilities and tactics that confused the larger alien ships. During one raid, Amy's team captured an intact enemy vessel. The ship contained star maps showing the Herald's next targets. They're focusing too much on us, Amy realized, studying the deployment patterns. They've diverted ships from their main objective to crush humans specifically. Admiral Clark smiled slightly when she heard this news. They fear us more than we thought. But why? The answer came from tests conducted by Daniel and the Krell scientists. Human blood samples showed remarkable changes after exposure to space radiation and alien technology. Our neural pathways adapt differently, Daniel explained. We integrate with their technology better than they do. That's why they're so determined to wipe us out. We're not just a nuisance. We're a genuine threat to them. For the first time since the war began, a flicker of hope spread through the human resistance. They were outgunned and outnumbered, but they had something the Void Heralds feared. Colonel Frank Miller moved silently through the shadows of the alien prison camp. 6 months had passed since the first attacks. Now humans were fighting back in ways the Void Heralds never expected. Team 1 in position, whispered a voice through his earpiece. Team 2 ready? Came another. Frank gave the signal. Go! Across the compound, small explosions drew the guards' attention. As they rushed toward the noise, Frank's team cut through the fence on the opposite side. They moved quickly toward the central building where human prisoners were held. The intelligence was correct. Inside, they found over 300 humans in cells. Many showed signs of experiments, strange marks on their skin, surgical scars, and eyes that glowed faintly in the darkness. We're getting you out, Frank told them as his team worked on the locks. Can everyone walk? Most could, but some needed help. As they led the prisoners out, alarms finally sounded. Guards rushed toward them, firing energy weapons. Cover the exit, Frank ordered, returning fire. The human weapons modified with Krell technology were effective now. 3 guards fell immediately. They escaped with all the prisoners, losing only 2 soldiers in the process. It was the most successful rescue mission yet. Back at the hidden base beneath Europa's frozen surface, Dr. Eric Wilson examined the freed prisoners. They were experimenting on these people to understand how humans adapt, he explained to Admiral Clark. The prisoners who survived longest show the most significant neural changes. Can you explain it in simple terms? The Admiral asked. The Void Heralds use technology that merges with their brains. It's how they control their ships and weapons. But humans can form these connections even better than they can. This discovery led to a new phase in the war. Major Olivia Scott, a pilot who had survived 3 direct encounters with Herald ships, volunteered for a dangerous experiment. We've modified the neural interface from a captured enemy fighter, Daniel Green explained as he prepared the equipment. It should connect directly with your nervous system. Should? Olivia asked with a half-smile. This has never been tested on humans before. Then I'll be the first, she said, laying back on the medical table. When she woke hours later, Olivia could feel the difference immediately. Her mind could reach out and touch the systems around her. When they brought her to the captured Herald ship, she melded with it instantly. It's like it was made for me, she said in wonder, as she controlled the alien vessel with only her thoughts. I can feel everything. Weapons, engines, sensors. It's clearer than the Heralds ever experienced. Other pilots with similar adaptations were quickly trained. Soon, a small fleet of captured ships operated by human pilots began striking back at Herald forces. The enemy, recognizing this new threat, diverted more resources to crush the human resistance. This was exactly what Admiral Clark had hoped for. They're pulling forces from other fronts, she told the War Council. The Krell report that 3 star systems previously under attack are now clear. Lieutenant Joseph Harris, who coordinated with resistance cells across the solar system, saw the opportunity. We can hit them simultaneously across multiple sectors. They're stretched thin trying to find us. The plan worked better than anyone expected. Human-piloted ships moving in ways the Heralds never anticipated struck enemy command vessels in 12 locations at once. The Krell forces attacked from another direction, adding to the confusion. For the first time, the Void Heralds suffered major losses. They retreated from 3 human colonies, regrouping their forces for a larger assault. They're still stronger, Admiral Clark cautioned her celebrating officers. But they're worried now. They see what we can do. In deep space, the largest Herald ships continued their primary mission, harvesting dying stars for energy. With each successful extraction, their weapons grew more powerful, but the process was becoming unstable. The fabric of space itself was beginning to warp around these harvested stars. The true danger was growing, even as humanity found its first real hope of survival. It started with 1 star exploding unexpectedly, then another, and another. Across a distant arm of the galaxy, suns burst into supernovas, destroying everything around them. In the command center on Europa, Admiral Clark watched the long-range sensor data with growing horror. How many systems are affected? 27 so far, reported her science officer. The chain reaction is spreading. The Void Herald's star harvesting technology had finally failed catastrophically. In their hunger for power, they had destabilized the delicate balance that kept stars burning steadily for billions of years. The effects rippled through space faster than anyone predicted. Entire civilizations vanished in flashes of light as their suns exploded. Even the Heralds themselves lost several homeworlds to the destruction they had caused. Something unexpected happened next. Ships began appearing in human space. Not Herald vessels, but refugee ships from concordant species fleeing the destruction. They're requesting sanctuary, Communications Officer Nancy White informed Admiral Clark. The Zealer, the Trill, even species we've never met before. They say we're their only hope. Why us? Asked Admiral Clark. Because human space is on the galaxy's edge. The supernova wave won't reach here for decades, maybe centuries. The Admiral faced a difficult choice. These were the same species that had either attacked humans or stood by while the Void Heralds tried to wipe them out. But turning away refugees went against everything humanity stood for. Let them come, she finally decided. But they surrender their weapons and technology first. As alien refugees streamed into the solar system, Dr. Lisa Martinez worked with them to preserve what knowledge and culture could be saved. We're the librarians of a dying galaxy now, she told John Carter, who had become humanity's chief diplomat. These species have histories stretching back millions of years. John nodded grimly. If we survive, what's coming next? What was coming was the Void Herald's final assault. Desperate as their own territories collapsed, they gathered every remaining ship for one massive attack on Earth. If they couldn't have the galaxy, no one would. The battle began in Earth's orbit. Thousands of Herald ships against the combined fleet of humans, Krell, and those concordant vessels that had joined the fight. Despite all their advances, humans were still outnumbered 10-1. "We can't win this conventionally," Admiral Clark told her war council. "We need something they won't expect." The answer came from an unlikely source. Engineer Ryan Taylor and Science Officer Daniel Green had been studying the energy patterns of the approaching supernova wave. "We can use the moon," Ryan explained, showing diagrams on a screen. "If we position gravity generators in specific locations, we can turn it into a lens." "A lens for what?" asked Admiral Clark. "For the energy already reaching us from the first supernovas," Daniel said. "It's too diffuse to be dangerous now, but if we focus it..." The plan was incredibly risky. If it failed, Earth itself might be destroyed. But with no other options, Admiral Clark gave the order. As the Herald Armada closed in, teams of engineers worked frantically on the lunar surface, installing massive gravity generators salvaged from damaged ships. The human fleet fought desperately to buy them time, sacrificing ships and lives to delay the enemy advance. Finally, Ryan gave the signal. "It's ready." The gravity generators activated simultaneously. The moon's mass shifted slightly, creating a gravitational lens pointed directly at the Herald fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the sky lit up. Energy from distant supernovas, collected and focused through the lunar lens, burst forth in a beam of incredible power. It cut through the center of the Herald formation, destroying hundreds of ships instantly. The remaining Heralds, panicked by this unexpected weapon, broke formation. The human fleet pressed the advantage, attacking from all sides. As the battle raged, more supernovas became visible in the night sky. The galaxy was burning system by system, but for the first time, it seemed humanity might survive to see what would rise from the ashes. 30 years passed since the great battle for Earth. The solar system had changed beyond recognition. Where once 9 planets orbited alone, now hundreds of space stations housed refugees from across the galaxy. Ships of dozens of alien designs moved between worlds that humans had transformed into homes for all. Ambassador John Carter walked slowly through the Garden Dome on Mars. His hair was now white, his face lined with age and the weight of all he had seen. Yet his eyes remained bright as he greeted the representatives gathering for the historic meeting. "Welcome to the first full assembly of the Stellar Covenant," he said to the group. Aliens of many forms stood or floated before him: the insectoid, Krell, the 4-armed Zelar, and 20 other species who had survived the burning of the galaxy. 30 years ago we were enemies or strangers," John continued. "Today we are the builders of a new future." The Stellar Covenant was very different from the old Galactic Concordat. There were no protectorate species, no hidden agendas. All information was shared openly. Defense was a joint responsibility rather than controlled by the strongest. In Earth orbit, Captain Laura Williams prepared her ship for its maiden voyage. The daughter of Andrea Williams, she had grown up hearing stories of the war. Now she commanded the first new exploration vessel built since the galaxy began to burn. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her first officer. Laura nodded. "Then let's make history." The ship, named New Dawn, carried a crew of both humans and aliens. Its mission was to explore the changed galaxy and find other survivors of the Yar cataclysm. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Martinez worked on her final project. Though elderly now, her mind remained sharp as she organized the most comprehensive history ever written. The story of how the galaxy burned and how the survivors had built something new from the ashes. "Are you almost finished?" asked a young assistant, bringing her tea. "Almost," Lisa replied, looking at her screen. "Just the conclusion left. How do you end the story of the end of the world?" "Maybe it wasn't the end," the assistant suggested. "Just a change." Lisa smiled. "You might be right." The supernova wave had altered the galaxy forever. Many systems were gone, but others had been changed in unexpected ways. The energy released had created new stellar nurseries where stars were being born at an astonishing rate. On distant worlds touched by the energy wave, life was evolving rapidly. Scientists detected strange new forms emerging on planets that had once been barren. Admiral Clark, now retired but still respected as a leader, addressed the Defense Academy one final time. "We survived because we adapted," she told the young officers of many species. Humans were thought too primitive to matter in galactic affairs. The Void Heralds believed they could control the forces of creation itself. Both were wrong. The remains of the Herald fleet had been destroyed or captured. Their knowledge was carefully studied to ensure their mistakes would never be repeated. As Laura's ship passed beyond the solar system, she recorded a message for future explorers. "The old galaxy is gone," she said, looking at the changed patterns of stars. "But life continues. Where worlds burned, new ones will form. Where civilizations fell, others will rise. Our job now is to help that process, not control it." In the Garden Dome on Mars, as the Stellar Covenant Assembly concluded its first session, John Carter stood with a Zealar who had once been an enemy. "Your species surprised us all," the Zealar admitted. "When the galaxy burned, most fled or fought only for themselves. Humans opened their doors and shared what they had." John looked up at the dome where the changed night sky was visible, a sky where new stars shone among the old, where darkness was giving way to light. "That's what humans do," he said simply. "We build, we adapt, we help each other. And now we help rebuild the galaxy together." Above them, the new dawn traveled onward, carrying the legacy of humanity to the stars that remained, and to those that would one day be born from the ashes of the old.